Okay, today is January the 12th, 2014, and we are doing an interview of Joyce Adams, and she's going to tell us a little bit about her life. So I'm just going to ask you a few questions, and you just answer as best you can. First, to start off, tell me where and when were you born?
Close to Oxford's Meshuggah, I guess.
Were you born in the hospital, or were you born at home?
At home, I think.
And what did your parents do?
Daddy was a preacher.
And what did your mom do?
She kept house.
All right. And what's the earliest memory you have of your childhood? What's the very first thing you can remember?
I guess my grandparents come in to see us.
Where did they live? Where did they come from?
We lived in Tennessee, I guess. I don't know. I just don't remember these things, Tommy.
Well, where were you? When did you start to school? How old were you, and where were you living when you first started school as a little kid?
I wasn't but 4 years old, I think.
Yeah, where were y'all living then when you started school?
Blue Mountain, I think.
What memories stand out from your childhood that you still remember, that stick in your brain when you were growing up? What's the most vivid memories that you have?
Daddy telling stories to us.
Did he do that like at nighttime?
Mm-hmm.
What about, I remember you told us about getting bit by a dog when you were real little. Tell me that story.
Somebody had a dog that I went out in the yard I did what I wasn't supposed to do, and the dog jumped on me.
And did it bite you?
I don't think so. I think
I thought it bit you on the head, I thought.
I think the scar appears from the dog bite.
Yeah, okay. What about your brother Thurman? I know he was killed when he was still just a child. What happened and how old was he? How did he get killed?
I think he was visiting his uncle and was killed by a truck.
Did it back over him?
I think so.
Who was driving the truck? Do you remember?
I just don't remember all that.
How old would he have been?
I think he's about 10 years old, but I'm not
That
sure.
sounds kind of right. Where did you graduate high school? Where were you living when you graduated high school?
Blue Mountain, I think.
I know you went to college at Blue Mountain, right?
I think we were living there when I graduated from high school.
And how old were you when you started college then at Blue Mountain?
16.
16 years old. And how old were you when you graduated?
19.
19? 3 years? Did you go to school during the summer, just kind of straight through?
Mm-hmm.
What did you do after college?
Taught school.
Where did you teach?
I taught at Blue Mountain, I reckon. I don't remember.
When did you go to Washington, D.C. to teach? How did all that come about?
Oh, this friend of ours was a legislator up there, and he's the one that got me up there to teach school.
How old were you when you went there? Maybe
Early 20s.
early 20s? How long did you stay in Washington, D.C. and teach? What grades were you teaching there?
Junior high.
Junior high? What do you remember about your time that you lived in Washington, D.C.?
I don't know, but we had a good time.
I know you saw, what was it, the funeral procession of, what president was it? Franklin or Theodore Roosevelt? Or
Roosevelt.
which Roosevelt? Where were you? Where did you watch it from? It would have been FDR, right? Franklin Delano Roosevelt?
I just don't remember all that.
How did you meet Dad? Do you remember how you met? I think didn't some friends introduce you or something?
I think they did. Seemed like one night they introduced me to him.
And that was that right before he left to go to World War II?
Mm-hmm.
Did y'all write back and forth while he was in the war? Did y'all write letters to each other?
Not much.
Yeah? And so when he got back, what happened then?
We started going together more.
And where did you get married? Do you remember?
Daddy performs the ceremony. I remember that.
Was it
At the-
Ashland?
At the church.
In Ashland, Mississippi? Is that where it was?
I think so.
And your dad did do the wedding ceremony. Well, how many kids did y'all want to have? When y'all started talking about having kids, how many did you want?
I wanted 2 boys or 2 girls.
2 boys and 2 girls, and all you got was 2 boys.
Mm-hmm.
Where did y'all...
2 sweet boys.
There you go. Where did y'all move to after you got married? Where did you live? Is that where Johnny was born? Was he born?
Yeah, Greenwood.
Yeah, because I was too, but then I didn't live there very long.
Huh?
I was born there too, but I didn't live there very long before we moved to
That's
Grenada.
right. Mm-hmm. His work took him there, I guess.
And then your mom and dad lived with us, right? Your mom and dad lived with us. It was really, whose house was it when y'all first moved to Grenada? Was that your mom and dad's house?
Mm-hmm.
And so they were already living in Grenada when y'all moved there.
Yeah.
Was he preaching in Grenada? At that church there by the funeral home? Is that where he was preaching?
Yeah.
And so...
You know you should write notes down about all this. 'Cause
I know. And then your granddaddy died in the late 1950s, right? Like 1957, 58 in Grenada. And then we moved to North Little Rock in 1963 because Dad got a job at Southern Cotton Oil. And then you started teaching there. Where did you teach and what grades did you teach in North Little Rock?
I taught junior high math.
8th grade math at Ridge Road.
Mm-hmm.
Did you always like teaching?
Yeah, I love teaching.
Yeah. And then after living in North Little Rock, you moved to New Orleans when I started college.
Mm-hmm.
And that would have been 1973. You moved to New Orleans. How did you like living down there?
We enjoyed it. We had a good time
Yeah.
living in New Orleans.
You didn't think you would, did you?
Huh?
You didn't think you were going to like it, did
We
you?
didn't think, we dreaded it. We enjoyed it as we got down there.
Yeah.
Made some good friends.
And then you moved back to North Little Rock again in about 1981. Because you were down in New Orleans about 8 years, I think.
That's it, right.
And then you moved back to North Little Rock, and Dad was managing the Southern Cotton Oil Mill. At that time, it was after ADM had bought it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you like moving back to North Little Rock?
Yeah, I kind of liked it.
Yeah. Out of all the places you've lived, what would you say is your most favorite place that you've lived, that you like the best?
Grenada, I guess.
Grenada? What grades did you teach when we were living in Grenada? You taught
Junior high math.
junior high math there too at John Rundle High School. Is that where you taught?
Mm-hmm.
Did you like it teaching there?
Yeah, I love teaching.
Yeah. Well, and all your brothers and sisters taught, except for Morris, but everybody else was, all the girls were teachers, weren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Well, tell me about all your siblings. What do you remember most about Flora May?
Well, of course, she was older, and we always looked up to her.
Yeah. And then, who came next after Flora May? It would have been you next, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then who was after that? Moselle?
Was that? There's a brother that died.
Thurman, yeah.
Thurman.
Thurman was Thurman older than Flora May?
Yeah.
So he was actually the oldest.
Mm-hmm.
And Flora May would have been pretty little when he died.
Mm-hmm.
Were you even born yet when Thurman died? Do you remember?
I think I was.
I'd have to look back at the records. I thought you were.
Let's see.
You would have been pretty little.
Huh?
You would have been pretty small.
Mm-hmm. I've been just a baby.
And then Moselle was born. How much younger was she than you?
About 2 years.
Okay, so not very much.
Not much.
And then the twins, Morris and Doris. And how much younger were they? They were a good bit younger than the rest of y'all, weren't they?
Yeah, there was more difference there between them and Moselle.
Yeah. Well, looking back on everything, you've outlived them all. You're the only one left out of all the brothers and sisters. How does that make you feel?
Well, in one way it makes me feel good because I'm still living. But I miss them all. I hate to be the only one.
Yeah.
Because I really do miss them.
Yeah. So, out of all the years you've lived, you're 96 years old now. Out of all the years that you've lived, what do you think is the most important thing that you've learned about life?
How to get along with people.
How to get along with people?
Mm-hmm.
So, that's probably a pretty good one. If you had anything you wanted to say to your grandkids and great-grandkids, what would you want them to know?
That a mother, that their parents stood for good things and were good people.
That's pretty good. Anything else you want to say before we stop for the day?
I don't believe so. I said, but my family was so good to me, and we had a good family, and we loved each other.
Yeah.
We took care of each other.
Yeah. What do you think about all day when you're here, now that you're living here? What do you think about all day? Do you think about your life in the past? What do you think about all day?
I think it's been pretty interesting, really. I mean, I've had a good life because
Mm-hmm.
I've had good parents and good friends. So, I think I've got a lot to be thankful for.
Yeah. What do you remember most about your mom and dad?
How much they sacrificed for us, because they really did.
Yeah. So, what do you remember most about your own kids?
About what?
About your kids, what do you remember the most?
Well, they're pretty loving.
What about tell me about when Johnny died. How did that affect you and Dad? Because that's been almost 14 years now.
Yeah. Well, it was pretty hard for us because he was our oldest child. And we had a special touch on him. But you knew life wasn't here forever. I mean, you try to think that, but it's hard to think
Yeah.
because you hate to give them up.
Yeah. What do you think's going to happen when we die?
It's going to be hard.
No, when we die, what happens after we die? What do you think happens after we die?
Oh, I think hard, I'm just not sure about that.
You think we'll be reunited with everybody that we love?
I wonder about that, really. I don't know.
I hope so, don't you?
I do. I hope we'll. And sometimes I think we will. I really do.
So, if you could change anything about your life and stuff that you did, would you change anything?
I don't know that I would.
All in all, pretty good life.
Pretty good. Pretty good.